shorter than normal, but I don't really have to do a lot with it except brush it, so it's quite nice. Anyway, it's Sunday, so we know what that means. More coffee and crime, but I might actually do some whispering and some soft spoken through this video, just because my throat's a little bit sore. So yeah, let's get straight into it. So I'm on the criminal journal again, and today it's about Ryan Harris, and she was it was about the murder of an 11-year-old girl by Floyd Durr, who kidnapped her while she was riding her bicycle. This is like parents' worst nightmares. I know it is me personally. Ryan Harris, whose nickname was Cookie because of her love for butter cookies. She was 11 years old when she was murdered in 1998. She was a 5th grade student at Revis Elementary School in Lansing, Illinois. At the time, her body was found in a desolate area in the Englewood neighborhood about 24 hours after she was kidnapped whilst riding her bike. Police initially arrested and charged 2 boys with her murder, but forensic testing and DNA evidence would later exonerate the boys and find Floyd Durr a habitual offender with a record of convictions of sexual assault since the age of 13. Culpable of killing Ryan Harris. I don't know if her name might be Rianne, but it's spelt Ryan. I'm not sure, but on the 27th of July 1998, Sabrina Harris, who was pregnant with her 7th child, left her children in the care of a friend while she unpacked her belongings at her new home in the suburbs. At around 6 p.m, she received a call from her friend claiming that her daughter, Ryan, hadn't been seen since 3 p.m. after she went riding through the neighborhood on a bicycle that she had borrowed. Sabrina then contacted the Cook County Sheriff's Office and reported Ryan missing, which precipitated a search party. Family members, friends, and 2 gang rivals came together to help find Ryan. Gangs. The following day, on the 28th of July, search volunteers came across the body of Ryan Harris in an overgrown lot behind a building on the 6600 block of South Parnell Avenue in the Englewood community. I still don't get what the whole block situation means. Do they not just have streets in America? Why do they have blocks? Dunno. She was found naked from the waist down and her shirt pulled up, her panties shoved down her throat and weeds pushed in her nostrils. That's absolutely bloody horrific. The poor girl. There was a blood-stained brick near her body, which investigators believe was used to crush her skull. Her remains were transported to the Cook County Medical Examiner's Office for an autopsy, which revealed that she had been sexually assaulted and beaten before she was suffocated to death. What the hell? Sabrina stated that the worst thing I saw was her in a casket. She didn't deserve to be there. She added, he robbed the world. 12 days after her body was found, on the 9th of August, police charged 2 boys aged 7 and 8 with her murder after they allegedly confessed to the crime. At the time, they were the youngest murder suspects in the nation. What the hell? While Cook County Juvenile Courtroom, Sabrina told the Chicago Tribune that she looked at the boys dead on and told her mother that they didn't do it. I fell on my mum's lap crying. I told her that they just didn't do it. The boys were then released 38 days later. After DNA testing from the semen determined that it could not have come from one of the boys because of their age. She'd been sexually assaulted, and they thought it was going to be two young children. Why did they arrest them in the first place? Kids lie about sick stuff like that all the time, but an 8-year-old would not have had the stuff inside them. The families later filed a lawsuit against the city of Chicago for an aggregate of $8 million. According to the Daily Journal, attorneys for the two boys claimed that the children had been framed and that law enforcement disregarded evidence that would prove their innocence. Good, I'm glad that they were sued for it. In September 1999, forensic testing revealed that the DNA evidence found on Ryan's underwear closely matched a convicted sex offender named Eddie Durr. However, investigators affirmed that Eddie could not have murdered her, as he was in prison at the time, serving a life sentence without the possibility of parole. Forensic experts later got an exact match. Then, 29-year-old brother Floyd Durr. At the time, investigators ascertained his DNA on Ryan Harris's body. Floyd was already incarcerated, serving 125 years for committing violent sex acts on 3 other girls in Englewood in 1988. During a police interrogation, Floyd denied having anything to do with Ryan Harris's murder. He later changed his story and stated that he did in fact encounter her blood-battered body after noticing 2 boys running away from the area on their bikes. Floyd added that he became aroused by her naked body and performed a sex act, but he was adamant that he didn't have sex with the child. Like anyone's going to believe that. It was reported that at a court hearing on October the 15th, 1988, 2 days after Sabrina gave birth to her 7th child, a judge determined that there was enough evidence to charge Floyd with the rape and murder of Ryan. On April the 10th, 2006, nearly 8 years after her death, he took a plea deal. He entered an Alford plea, meaning that he pled guilty but still maintains his innocence. Sabrina wasn't too thrilled about the deal, as she was hoping for the death penalty. I would have been hoping for the death penalty too if that was my kids. I know I've said before I don't believe in it, but for this I would. For kids, when there's kids involved, someone murders a child, kill the person. Instead, a judge sentenced Floyd Durr to life plus 30 years in prison. To honour her memory, the Chicago Park District named a 3-acre park after her in 1999, called the Ryan Harris Memorial. It's located in the Englewood neighbourhood in South Low Avenue. That was just horrific. I don't next one. So this is about a girl called Leah. I think it's Leah. It's Leuh or Le. I'm pretty sure it's Leah. Leah Moore. And she was a 37-year-old woman. And she was killed by her husband, Donald Stafford, who dumped her body in a dumpster. So, she was murdered in 2018 by her husband, Donald Casey Stafford. She was a mother of a 7-year-old boy at the time her body was found in a dumpster behind a local business in Wichita, Kansas. At around 6 p.m. on April the 8th, 2018, police officers with the Sedgwick County Sheriff's Office were dispatched to the Cave Liquor Store at 1701 S. Seneca after dispatch received a 911 call from an employee reporting a dead body in a dumpster behind the store. When officers arrived at the scene, the employee told them that while a homeless man was rummaging through the dumpster, he encountered a dead body of an adult female. Officials said that the woman did not have any identification on her person, but they were able to identify her as Leah Moore through fingerprints during an autopsy, which revealed that she died from stab wound to the neck. When officers went to her home in the 1100 block of West Drayton near Seneca and Kellogg Cornflakes, where she lived with her husband and their son, they found 2 pit bulls suffering from stab wounds. They were taken to an emergency vet hospital where they were treated for non-life-threatening injuries. I hope they took them dogs away and never brought them back. During an investigation, Wichita police ascertained that a home surveillance video captured a Jeep Cherokee pulling up to the dumpster behind the liquor store at 4:33 a.m. on April the 8th, 2018. The driver exited the vehicle, removed a body from the car and threw it into the dumpster, along with his McDonald's work polo shirt. Investigators then conducted a background check on Leah Moore and Donald Stafford, then 30, and found that they had a history of domestic violence. Moore's brother, Leland, told reporters that my nephew said he beat her daily. The feelings are still hard to show because it's still unbelievable. It's just very hard. I can't show my feelings at the moment. That tears you up. On the day Leah was found dead in a dumpster, Stafford dropped their son off at a relative's home before leaving Wichita in his wife's vehicle. Wichita police then issued a bolo, be on the lookout, for her 1998 Jeep Cherokee, as they listed it as a stolen vehicle. According to Lieutenant Todd O'Geal, when a state trooper in Davenport, Iowa, was checking hotels around 9:20 a.m. on April the 10th, 2018, he spotted Moore's vehicle in a parking lot. Donald Stafford was arrested when a state trooper caught him walking down the stairs of the hotel. He was taken to the Scott County Jail and later extradited back to Kansas. Stafford was then booked into the Sedgwick County Jail on charges of first-degree murder and 2 counts of animal cruelty and malicious torture or killing. He was held on a $650,000 bond. On October the 22nd, a jury found Donald guilty of murdering his wife and stabbing their 2 dogs. However, a motive of the circumstances leading up to the murder of Leah are unknown. But investigators determined that Leah and Donald's son was present at the time she was killed. Horrible, that poor kid. He is now in the custody of Moore's family. Jackson told the news that he's going to have extensive counselling and therapy, but it's one day at a time. He added, "It was right in the middle of it, and he's lucky that nothing happened to him. We've got to work together as a family to take care of him, to make sure he's got everything that he needs." In December 2018, Judge Faith Morgan sentenced Donald Stafford to 50 years to life in prison with no chance of parole. Why don't they just say life in prison then? That never gets me. If they say 50 to life, he's just going to get life in prison if he's not going to get parole. But it's awful. I mean, it's bad enough killing your missus, but... Right, this is the last one I'm going to do for tonight. But you'll have to see what you think of this one. Chris Watts murdered his pregnant wife, Shannon, and their 2 children, Bella and Celeste, before discarding their bodies at an old oil site where he worked. This one is going to be disgusting. So just before 2 a.m. on August 13th, 2018, a home surveillance camera captured Shannon, 34, who was also 15 weeks pregnant, returning to their home in Frederick, Colorado, from a business trip to Arizona, carrying a suitcase and her purse. A white vehicle driven by her friend Nicole Atkinson was seen waiting by the end of the driveway. When Shannon entered the home, she drove away, not knowing it would be the last time she saw her friend alive. A lot of you might have heard of this, because I can remember hearing this on a true crime video and seeing it in the news as well. But I'll carry on. During their business trip, Shannon, who worked from home in a direct marketing as a seller for Thrive, wasn't feeling well, so Atkinson checked on her a few hours after dropping her off by calling and sending a slew of messages, but they were all unanswered. Panic began to set in when she realised that Shannon had missed her 9 a.m. doctor's appointment. When she contacted Chris, he told her they hadn't separated, but it wasn't precisely what Atkinson was interested in hearing. Her only concern was the whereabouts of Shannon Watts, as well as Bella 4 and 2-year-old Celeste. Chris observed that Shannon was on a play date with one of her friends, but when Atkinson drove to Shannon and Chris's home at 2825 Saratoga Trail, she noticed that Shannon's vehicle was still in the garage with the girls' car seats inside, something she would have never left behind. Atkinson also called the Colorado Police Department and reported that she had gone missing, as well as Bella and Celeste. While searching the Watts family home, the police noticed a sheet was missing from the couple's bed, and her cell phone, purse and medication were still in the home. A neighbour showed police surveillance footage of Chris loading items into his truck, including a red gas container, after partially backing his truck into the garage at around 5:17 a.m. As they were watching the video, Chris appeared nervous. He was swaying back and forth, resting his hands on his head and constantly looking at his phone. When Chris left, the neighbour told police that he's not acting right at all. He added, "He's never fidgety, rocking back and forth." Chris Watts later made a media appearance pleading for his wife and daughter's safe return, but all the while he knew where they were and what had happened to them. During a 6-hour interrogation at the Colorado Police Department, Chris confessed to agents from the FBI and the Colorado Bureau of Investigation that he had fallen out of love with his wife and was having an affair with a co-worker named Nicole Kessinger. On the morning of August the 13th, Chris claimed to have told his wife that he wanted to end their marriage after admitting to having an affair. He said Shannon became angry thereafter, and while looking into the baby monitor sometime later, he said he saw Shannon strangling their children. Mums, I don't know. She wouldn't have done that, I don't think. By the time he got into their bedrooms, they were dead. That's when he said he freaked out and strangled Shannon to death before burying her body and dumping the bodies of Bella and Celeste in oil tanks. If she had killed her children, he would have rang the police and told them. Even if he'd have killed her out of self-defense, or seeing that his children had been hurt by her, he would have rung the police. He would never have hidden his children's bodies if she had killed them. On August the 16th, 3 days after Shannon and her 2 young daughters were missing, Chris told the police where to locate their bodies. Frederick police found Shannon's decomposing body in a shallow grave on the property of Anadarko Petroleum, where Chris worked as an operator. Her fetus, which would have been named a baby boy called Nico, had been expelled from her body. She was arrayed in a t-shirt, bra and underwear. The bodies of Bella and Celeste were found in separate oil tanks. Bella was clad in pink pajamas, while Celeste wore a pink and black shirt, a nappy and underwear. Radar Online reported that its officials were removing Bella and Celeste from the oil tanks. Their skin had fallen off. Authorities transported the remains to McKee Medical Center in Loveland, Colorado, where an autopsy was performed the following day. The medical examiner determined that Shannon had been strangled to death and Bella and Celeste were smothered. The autopsy report also indicated that Bella had blunt force injuries to her upper gum line and frenulum, as well as bite marks on her tongue. Should have been trying to say help. This one's a hard one to do. To avoid the death penalty, Chris pled guilty to 3 counts of first-degree murder and tampering with physical evidence on November the 6th, 2018. Later that month, Judge Marcelo Kopkow sentenced him to 5 life sentences. Kopkow told Chris that the murders were the most inhumane and vicious crime that she'd handled in thousands of cases that she'd seen. In February 2008, Chris made another confession. He admitted to killing his daughters, Bella and Celeste, and gave harrowing details about what really happened on the morning that Shannon arrived home on the 13th of August. In a jailhouse interview with the FBI, he stated that after he and Shannon had sex, They laid on the bed for a while and discussed their marriage. That's when he told her about his affair and wanting to separate because he didn't love her anymore. Shannon supposedly became emotional and told him that he wasn't going to see their children anymore. He sat on top of her as they continued their conversation. But things took a sinister turn when he wrapped his hands around her neck and strangled her to death. Chris stated that he didn't fight back, and it looked like as she was praying. Every time I think about it, I'm just like, did I know what I was doing? Going to do that before I got on top of her. He then wrapped her body in a bed sheet and dragged her downstairs while Bella looked on, asking what's wrong with her mother. He told her that she was sick, as he proceeded to drag Shannon's body to his truck and placed her on the floorboard. Afterwards, he put Bella and Celeste in the back seat and set them on the bench without car seats, before taking a 45-minute drive to the petroleum. Once he was there, he buried Shannon's body in a wooded area on the property and headed back to his truck. Chris grabbed Celeste's favourite blanket and smothered her to death while Bella watched. When he returned from dumping her body in the oil tank, Bella asked if he was going to do the same to her as he did to his sister. Chris stated that he couldn't remember what his response was, but unfortunately Bella suffered the same fate. She yelled, "Daddy, no," before Chris placed the blanket over her face and smothered her. Bella fought for her life. Chris asserted that he could feel her head moving from side to side, trying to get air and making grunting sounds as he blocked her airway. He then dumped her body in an oil tank and left the scene. He told officials that he has regrets of killing his family and has since asked God for forgiveness. No one will forgive you for that. No one. Chris Watts now sits in a Wisconsin jail cell with photos of Shannon, Celeste and Bella on his wall. He said he talks to them every morning and said, "Right now I have a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old and more likely a 1-month-old son and a beautiful wife. And right now it's just me. I know there's a purpose for everyone. I hope I can find mine. Well, you won't. And I hope you rot in prison and someone should take those photos from you because you have no right to have them. You're a disgusting human being." And he is. Who does that to their family? That one's a really hard one to listen to, and I'm sorry if it makes anyone feel uncomfortable, because that made me feel uncomfortable reading it. But I hope that you all sometimes enjoyed listening to this as much as you could. I'm sorry it's been a bit of a strange one and depressing one. I didn't mean for that to happen, but I hope you're all staying safe, keeping well, and sleep tight tonight. Good night. I'll see you all soon.